Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's World News, World Edition. This is October 24th, 2024. We'll be discussing all kinds of current events, including the presidential election, which is less than 12 days out today. All the buzz is going on. There's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of accusations. And I believe that most of the people in the United States have already selected the president of their choice, whether it's for morality reasons, the morals, or just because they think, one of the presidents can do their pocketbook better for money. But meanwhile, there are so many other things going on in the world today. So let's talk about some of these things. Currently heard that the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani has entered the New York race as indicted Mayor Eric Adams has refused to resign. We also have heard that historic opportunity has just occurred with a new pro-decolonization alliance aims to shake up Puerto Rico politics. This is really quite an interesting story where Puerto Rico has started a new political organization, Alianza, where they are a more center left, bringing the people together in Puerto Rico for the Independence Party and the Citizens Victory Party. This is the first opportunity for the people of Puerto Rico to push aside the corruption of the government right now and have an opportunity to build a new phase of Puerto Rico, says Ana Irma Rivera. So she is now running to represent Puerto Rico in Congress as the island's resident commissioner, which is Puerto Rico's sole member of Congress. So that's a lot going on there for the beautiful islands of Puerto Rico, which I am a big fan of and love so very much. Another big item on the ticket today is UN says Israeli has assaults on Gaza have set back the development by 7 decades. The earthquake in Lebanon is seeking $250 million a month for the 1.3 million people that are displaced. They're hoping, I guess, Israel will give them this money. Israeli forces shoot and kill 11-year-old Palestinian boy in occupied West Bank. I guess it's war, and children are unfortunately the victim of a bunch of old men who hate each other and say horrible things and want to kill each other, but get the other people to do it for them. Blinken wraps 11th Israel visit as hostages' families protest to demand ceasefire. Another big ticket on the item, which is very much concerning me and other people of this network, as Putin opens the BRICS summit, U.S. accuses North Korea of deploying troops to Russia. Now, for a lot of you who are not aware of BRICS, this is very, concerning because it's head up by Russia. It is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they have claimed that over 30 more countries have expressed a desire to join BRICS this year. This unity, they are growing stronger, showing more ability to probably take over the world if they choose to do so. They're very powerful entities here when you talk about Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and of course they all don't really like Americans. So as BRICS is growing and gaining more power and more strength, the United States, who they hate, is dividing more and more, that we're not united, and we are opening ourselves up to be a huge victim thanks to the leadership that we have with Trump. And actually, I guess maybe Kamala. I'm not quite sure if either one of them can prevent this from happening. But I don't see us uniting enough to stand together against BRICS. I hope that we can. But right now, I think BRICS is going to take over the world because it's a huge unity. Another big ticket item for those of you who don't watch the news much anymore, Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, says Trump meets the definition of a fascist. And of course, John Kelly's not there with him, as well as, Trump had to pick another vice president. I mean, really, what person in this world could hate a president running so much that they walk away from being a vice president, especially a politician who loves that kind of power? But Harris' campaign ejects Muslim American Democrats from the Detroit area rally. So we'll have to read up on that. There's another big item. Rudy Giuliani ordered to hand over the apartment and luxury goods to the defamed Georgia election workers. So I guess Giuliani is being shown the way out. One of my big concerns is that we continuously hear Trump and his supporters call out on the evil within this country, and that they're going to make the evil within pay. And quite frankly, I don't know who they mean by evil within. I'm getting the feeling it's anyone who has opposed him and didn't vote for him. What I want to do is share with the people of the United States and of the world, don't pay attention to those ads that they know who voted for who. Please don't. They are not going to take the election ballots and go after you because you didn't vote for Trump. He wants you to fear him. That's the way he campaigns. He campaigns by spreading fear, creating hate and anger, and pointing blame, drawing in his cult following to do his deeds for him, just like the wars do. And just like I have predicted all year, this is how he campaigns. And then he will lead his followers into the desert, where he will convince them that they are thirsty and they will drink the sand. And guess what happened a week ago? Yep, he did that, leaving thousands of people stranded with no way back to where they parked, and it was more than 6 miles. So people, if that's the kind of leader you want, somebody that you're going to follow into the desert and drink the sand, then perhaps this is what you need. But with us today from around the world, we have Jatovi from Durham, North Carolina. Welcome, Jatovi. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Okay, that's great. I couldn't hear Mark too well yesterday either. It might be my system. Sasha, hello. How are you doing? Welcome from Canada. Sasha has several shows on our network. One is an investing show. I encourage everyone to watch it. And the other one is a chess show, which I also encourage everyone to watch it. I've just discovered my nephew and my neighbor's little boy down the street, they're both picking up chess this year, and they love it. So I'm going to convince them to watch your show. So this is, yeah. And with us also, all the way from California.
I forgot to mention Ukrainian show as well. Ukrainian show you mentioned.
Oh, that's right. You know what? I'm sorry, because I do love watching that to keep up with what's going on in the Russia and Ukraine area. And folks, we need to watch that, especially with BRICS kind of joining powers. And I want to get Sasha's update on that and what he thinks is going to happen, because this was a concern of David Walker's too. And I don't know if any of you got to watch the debate last night that he moderated, but I want to tell you what, those were humdinger questions, and those people actually answered them with real solutions. Most of them did. But anyway, it was a 2.5 hour debate. It was absolutely fabulous. And also with us today, we have Don Worthington. Welcome. How are you doing, Don?
Dan, hey, thanks.
I'm sorry. It was a late night last night. And
oh, yeah.
Because we watched the debate with David, and then we did a review here on the network with it.
Yep.
And then we're going to do another review with David on Monday to discuss the debate. It was good because they had the candidates that are the alternative, and David did a good review of who they were going to be and explained each party. very well on Monday. I enjoyed listening to real solutions, no bantering, no, it just didn't make you feel like everyone hated each other. And it's too bad we can't just get them all to unite, pull these solutions together in a conversation and come to a median and say, this is what we're going to do for the country, like most companies do, right? To get the companies back off the ground when they are in so much debt and hate each other and divided.
Yeah, I heard a part of it. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the only part I was not crazy about was all the entertainment in between. I think that kind of took my attention away for a second, and I really just wanted constant questions. But, maybe it's a good strategy. Also, all the way from Australia, who joined us last night in the review, Shaq. Welcome, Shaq. How you doing?
Good. Hello, everybody.
Good. All right. So, Rick, Mark said to kind of let you start because he usually does when he's not here.
Well, okay, so let me start by pissing everybody off. So on Twitter, I've tweeted about 20 times over the past month that if you're still voting for Trump after 9 years of him showing everybody the kind of person he is, you're going to hell. You can't defend yourself in front of St. Peter at the pearly gates. So now everybody.
I agree.
Oh, that was funny.
One of my things, because of what's recently been popping up, is do they need to put a TV rating? Rick, you could answer this question as well as I can because I already kind of know the answer,
No,
I guess. But
TV ratings are
rating on him because he's always talking about penises, and he's actually been using some cuss words.
Yeah, but that horse is out of the barn. Kids, when we were kids, you could be sequestered from bad words and stuff, but now it's every place. So every kid knows every bad word. I agree,
but still in the industry, we're required to do a rating, and I have to do it as well. I have to be very careful. That's why Nick and I try to say, we try to convince people no heavy profanity. I mean, I know the damn word comes out every once in a while and stuff like that, but we try to say no heavy profanity and, sexually related content. So, it just appears to me that it's getting worse too. And people have said that could be a sign of mental issues. But anyway, Rick, Mark said to kind of let you take control of the
situation. So if I'm in control, then Shaq was starting to say something. Let's have him say something.
Well, I just, I've said this before. The reason why I'm just totally against left-wing parties is because of this. It's because of the way that they just constantly bully and harass, and they always think that they've got the moral high ground, so they can say to a black person like Larry Elder that he's the black face of white supremacy, because there's no holds, there's nothing barred. You can say and do whatever you want. You can say that he's a Hitler. You can say that his supporters are cult followers and things like that. Now you're saying, they're all going to go to hell and all of that because they don't view his supposed character flaws the same way as you do. I just find this to be incredulous. And then you turn around in the next breath and say, well, we just want the country to unify. No, you don't. You want the country to unify behind your belief system because you're not prepared to look across the aisle and say, you know what, other people might be looking at things differently. They might be emphasizing things differently. Okay, Toby, you can go next. Just put your hand down for a second. I don't know why people have to carry on like this and have this attitude all the time and then wonder why some of us just go, you know what, I'm not going with that. I'm not going to go with a group of people that are just going to call me names and attack all the time. That's not the group I'm aligned with.
So, I mean, Trump is not exactly a unifying presence. He's called Kamala Harris retarded and a bunch of other.
I don't doubt that, but I'm not. Look, if I was to go around all the time and say, look, Rick, if every time I spoke to you, I just called you a commie bastard, right? And I said, Rick, you're self-confessed of having low testosterone. And if I just came at you like that all the time, it wouldn't take very long before you wouldn't like me very much anymore, right? You wouldn't enjoy your interactions with me. This is what's happening to people because they're constantly feeling as though they're attacked. They're constantly feeling as though, hey, look, I want you to have lower taxes. I'm looking at my grocery store prices and it's too high for me right now. And I'm struggling and my family's struggling. And I think that I might be better off voting for this guy. And as soon as I say that I'm going to vote for this guy, I'm going to get attacked. That's not going to make people like you. That's not going to make people feel unified.
Right. One thing.
And just one last thing.
One thing.
Just one last thing very quickly, please. Because I said this on the earlier show and I don't want to talk behind your backs. And I meant to say it at the time. Sacha made a comment to Adam Lamparello about him buying food at Kroger and maybe he should go buy shares in Kroger instead. And you made the comment about maybe people should start buying, nearly expired food in the discount aisle of the grocery stores as being a solution to the cost of living pressures. And, that's not a solution. People don't want to have to go without the lifestyle that they're used to having. And so, I think that it's just, I'm going to repeat myself, I think it's really disingenuous to call people these sorts of names and expect them to fall in love with you.
Okay, so.
Well, I want to add something, and I know it's other people's turns, but, what about them constantly saying that they're going to make the other people pay, the enemy within? There's an enemy within here. They're going to destroy the enemy within. I mean, that's a lot of threats. And for them to start now advertising, they know who voted and how they voted. That's a little intimidating and spreading fear. But yes, Jatovi, go ahead.
Just a few things in terms of the name calling. Honestly, that started with Donald Trump, and let's not try and say that it's a two-way street because every rally he goes on, just as Rick tried to point out, and we're trying to dismiss it for some reason. Donald Trump constantly and consistently name calls the MAGA crowd from Marjorie Taylor Greene to Lauren Boebert to all these individuals constantly and consistently push out names and attacking people. And so what I ended up, it all boils down to, I guess where Rick was going, but also this leads to my question to answer both things because he even talked about the economy as well. So my curiosity, where is that line? Because we now have him creditably praising Hitler.
Oh,
that doesn't. No, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Oh, now it's a fact. Prove it there.
And
Show me a fact.
I didn't interrupt you. Raise your hand. I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, I'll raise both hands. Show me your fact.
Thank you.
You're going to pass off with the fact. Show it.
Just
show
be quiet.
the audience.
I did not interrupt you. Why are you interrupting me?
Because when I say something that you say is not true, you interrupt me, so I'm doing the same thing back to you.
You're going to let me finish. Okay, you're going to let me finish. So please.
You asked me a question, I answered it for you.
Go on mute.
No, you asked me a question, I answered it.
Go on mute. I didn't ask you a thing.
You did. You said, why do you want to interrupt me? And I answered you.
Shaq, let Jatovi finish because we let you talk without being interrupted. So please let each person finish what
But when he does it to me on other shows, it's okay. I answered the question.
But this is a new show with me here today. So let's try to let each person speak independently. Thank you.
So again, this brings me to the question that I am curious about. Where is that line? Because he is credibly it's credible that he has now praised Hitler. He actually goes on stage regularly and has praised dictators he's had Viktor Orban at his house. He's praised Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin. There obviously isn't a character line, so we can skip that. The economic line, it has already been proven that, and this is why I ask about policy, because what is he going to do moving forward? His plan is tariffs and tax and cutting taxes on things that he's actually going to take away, which isn't going to bring in money. 23 or 20 plus Nobel laureates in economics have pointed out that Kamala Harris's plan for the future is better economically than Donald Trump's plan. They have asked him at the debate that Kamala Harris's plan, which in an economic analysis is going to add 1.7 trillion to the debt. It's going to add, they asked Trump's economic analysis at the best case scenario is going to add 5.8 trillion to the national debt. So honestly, it's not about even economic policy. So when we're talking about these two candidates, even though there was a third-party candidate presidential debate last night, when we're talking about these two candidates, like they did last night in terms of solutions, that would be good to talk about, because I'm trying to figure out where that line is, and that could help me understand what you guys are talking about as, oh, you don't get it, you don't get it, you don't get it. Help me understand.
Right. I want everybody to be more succinct. Everybody try to get done with what you're saying in 30 to 45 seconds, like we're a real TV show.
Well, I'll be very, very brief. I think it's incredible to say it's not about the economy. It's not about like we're telling you what it's about, but you don't agree with our analysis, and so therefore it's not about those things. The character assassinations are just another continuation of the same thing that we've been seeing from the left for almost a decade now. It's not working. It doesn't. It's not credible. But what Trump just walked into the Oval Office one day and said, "Oh, woke up this morning and I thought, gee, I really like Hitler." I mean, let's put this in context. What's the actual allegation? It sounds ridiculous. It's not something that a president's going to say. And frankly, you can keep carrying on like this, but it's just not going to convince anybody.
All right. So I've got like 30 seconds on the clock real quick. Just to point out, I'm talking about actual things that are credible. John Kelly has no reason to lie. He has no skin in the game in terms of grabbing anything politically. So he points this out. Are you telling me that John Kelly is lying? Then on top of that, are you telling me that economic laureates who pointed out that Kamala Harris's plan is better, you're telling me they're lying without pointing out any facts? That's my time.
Okay, so I'm not saying that the Nobel laureates are lying. Economics isn't provable. Okay, what we do know is that there are other economists that have come to different conclusions. Now, we also know that many of these international institutions, if we want to put the clock down, will you?
No,
many of the international institutions have become very, very politicized. Now, Arthur Laffer should have won this year's economics Nobel Prize in economics. There's no question. He's one of the most consequential economists of the last century. His ideas have been proven to be correct for the last 40 and 50 years. He's right up there with the likes of Milton Friedman. Instead, three gentlemen won it. They certainly deserve it. They're immigrants to the United States. But what they did was their Nobel Prize was given for looking at institutions and the funding of institutions and their contribution to society. So we know that these things have been corrupted.
All right, let's talk about Laffer. So Laffer is famous from being in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. When the teacher is going, Bueller, Bueller, he's talking about the Laffer curve, which simply says that there's a level of taxes, a percent in taxes, that maximizes revenue. You charge people.
That's the thing that he's most well known for, Rick. But he's also been quite well known for other things to do with government policy, and he certainly helped to shape government policy in the post-Canadian world. But look, the point that I'm making is, I believe that he should have already had a Nobel Prize. He certainly should have won it this year. And he's an older guy now. I think he's in his 80s. He deserves to have a Nobel Prize. So the idea that Nobel laureates like someone like Robert Reich, he's going to say that that Trump's plan is no good. Well, of course he is. He's on the left, and a lot of economists are.
All right. Okay. I just want to clarify about the most recent Trump-Hitler thing. So, according to Mark Kelly, Trump said that he wanted generals who were more like Hitler's generals, who were, in Trump's mind, unquestioningly loyal, which is not true. There were 42 known attempts to assassinate Hitler, and German army officers were part of at least 11 of those attempts. So they
He also
and Goebbels and his wife Magda killed their 6 children, out of love for Hitler. So I mean, that's a terrible situation. But I don't believe that that's something that he would have said. And if he did, I'd like to hear it in context. What we're hearing is somebody that he sacked, somebody that doesn't like him, doesn't get along with him, and other people that don't get along with him and don't like him that have come out with this, and the Dems are trying to make this the big October surprise. And it's not working. The polls haven't moved. The betting
Again,
markets
so
have
he
moved a little
also-
bit, but I don't think it's because of this.
Rick, I
He
have a
also
question for you.
quoted. He was also quoted as
So
saying,
hold on,
Hitler
let's
did
let
some-
Sasha go for a second.
Rick,
Yes,
I have a
Sasha.
question to you. It's been noted lately, in the last several days, that there are many top Republicans joining, voting for Kamala, and the number is growing. And there are several U.S. generals and politicians, and just name it. But I never heard so far even one
Democrats.
would change to vote for Republicans. How can you explain that?
I can explain that by saying that you're not looking at the evidence, Sasha. You're going to dismiss Tulsi Gabbard. You're going to dismiss RFK Jr. And how about some of the down ballot Senate positions and House positions in some of those swing states who are distancing themselves dramatically from Kamala Harris and have actually got advertising campaigns about how they voted with or sided with Donald Trump. So, her own advisors are reported in the media as saying that they're in a lot of trouble. The Harris campaign's in a lot of trouble over policy, et cetera, et cetera. Their internal polling is clearly showing that she's having issues. This is what's being reported. I think that what you guys are doing, again, is being very selective and picking out the things that you think make the Republicans look bad and ignoring the stuff that you think make the Democrats look bad, because you're trying to find, not deliberately probably, but you're trying to find evidence to prove a conclusion that you've already made.
So just to point out, Tulsi Gabbard left the Democrat Party a long time ago. So to have her as your
Just recently,
this is
actually.
no, stop, please, Dan. I only got 30 seconds. So again, Tulsi Gabbard left the Democrat Party a long time ago when she was running for president, and then went over to Fox News. So to say that she's your beacon, that this shows all the Democrats, no, it doesn't. Honestly, you have, just as Sasha pointed out, 200 plus that are actually campaigning with and for Kamala Harris. You don't even have your vice president. Your military cabinet behind Donald Trump has already said that he is a threat. So you can't say that it's equal.
Well, if you think that having establishment Republicans on your side is now a good thing, go for it. But who are you pitching to? Because if you're a Democrat from 15 or 20 years ago, are you now all of a sudden going, oh, Dick Cheney, yeah, we wanted him on our side the whole time. Is that what we're doing? If that's the idea, if the idea now is that Democrats are going to act like the old establishment Republicans, why are Democrats voting for Democrats? You might as well just vote for the Republican.
What we are doing is pointing out the problem and flaws with your argument that you're trying to say that it's equal. No,
Tulsi Gabbard did not become a Republican until recently.
Goodness gracious.
God, you're such an idiot.
Yeah, I'm such an idiot, but I'm the one only following the rules, Dan. Thank you.
I'm going to drop off.
Now you're cutting into my time. Please, thank you for going on the background. So again, what we're doing is pointing out the flaws in the argument that you're trying to say that it's equal on both sides. Tulsi Gabbard and RFK have left the Democrat Party a long time ago. They were never truly sitting bastions of Democratic policy. No, what's going on is the Republican Party, those individuals, stop, Dan. So the Republican Party, or those individuals within the Republican Party, the top aides, are actually leaving because they're saying that Donald Trump is a threat. But again, that's what goes back to my question. Where is the line? And obviously, once you get into this idea of Donald Trump, you hold on to it and nothing takes you away. So that's why I'm trying to figure out, where is that line?
Okay, so Toby, I hear your argument, and I hear Rick's argument. I hear Kimberly way too much. Here's the thing. 50% of Americans are basically for Trump. 50% of Americans are for Harris. We have a divide in our country, right? And so calling each other names really isn't going to be the solution. Kimberly's in favor of killing babies because she doesn't think that it's fair to allow babies to be raised with bad families. Well, you got a point. Maybe it's not fair for babies to be raised in bad families, but killing them isn't the solution. Maybe increasing the amount of people that adopt and take care of babies is the solution. Maybe other ways to support. Certainly not allowing more people over our border to exacerbate our problems is the solution to any of our problems, because that just makes all of our problems more difficult. Our housing problems, our food shortages, all the things that we're seeing there are real problems in our country, and the problem is that we're really not talking about them. We're talking about these personalities, and Dan believes in killing humans and let them suffer. No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, well, I don't know what
Putting
that's
that-
doing. It's
Putting that up online is defamatory per se.
yeah,
You
yeah.
need to leave it because
Get
it's
rid of that thing.
absolutely
That's
wrong
not-
for
yeah.
you to say
So,
that.
Dan, you just defamed me by saying
Yeah.
I believe in killing babies, and I don't.
Well,
I
you
never
believe
have.
in
In
letting
fact, I spend a lifetime
You support
helping
abortion.
children
You
and helping
support-
them grow and prosper and go to college.
And that's good, but you
I have
support
spent
abortion.
a lifetime pro-life for children. I have
that's
helped
good.
women who have become pregnant that didn't have a means and help them and support
Okay,
them having
so
babies.
listen, Kimberly.
So I get out
You've never
there
asked
today.
me
So
about
just
my
sit there and
opinion on
defame
abortion.
Me, I will sue you if you
Well,
ever
I'll sue you
say
if you
that again. I will sue you. Do you
Listen,
understand? I
you're-
do not kill babies.
You're such
You
an
kill
idiot.
babies, and you said it, and I will.
I didn't
copy this,
say.
and I will
you,
take it to court. Thank
oh
you.
God, you're the one that said it on TV. and
No,
tell
you
them I
said
did.
it. You said you
Well,
kill
okay,
babies.
listen. Will you let me
You
clarify
said
my
you
position?
kill babies, then you accused me of killing babies.
You-
but you're the one
you
who
said
kills
that you're the
babies
one
after
This
they're
isn't-
that's in
born.
all right,
favor
all right.
You don't care.
of killing children over letting them be born in good families. That's what you said.
No, I didn't.
Now,
I
well,
didn't
yes,
say
you
that.
did.
You're
You've been
putting words
saying
in
it.
my mouth, but
You've
we're
been
going to
saying
stop
it.
at this
You've been
point.
saying it in
Do
all the
not
texts.
You
ever-
guys.
Okay,
do not
now
ever
stop.
accuse
Let me
anyone
talk
of
about my
killing
position
babies
on abortion.
this network.
Abortion
Right.
is a terrible thing. It has to happen sometimes.
So is letting
because-
babies being born, and you Christians don't help them at all,
Tragic.
and you let them die,
Will you,
and then
will-
you let them,
will you-
then they
will
commit
you let me
adultery
talk?
Okay,
and
stop
Will you
talking
let me-
over each
Can I
other.
will
interject
you
real
let
quick?
me talk? I was talking.
Let
I
Dan
have-
finish, and then Kim, you can go.
You just muted me. Stop it. It's my turn. Now, okay.
Boo-hoo.
You're such a hypocrite. You're
All
such a
right,
hypocrite.
all right. Just say what you
Now,
want.
let
to
me
say.
just say what I'm going to say.
Just talk facts and don't call people names and sit there and point.
You're the
fingers.
one that's calling names.
You
now,
called
let
me a name on network. I haven't
let
said anything
me
to you.
finish.
Let
I
him-
had not-
let him
I did not.
finish,
You
then
did.
can
Grow up,
respond.
Dan.
Let me finish. You grow up and let me say this. Abortion is a tragic thing. When it happens, it has to happen sometimes because of the health of the mother, because of the personal situation, other things that are difficult. I really do have empathy for people who get in those situations. I've had family members that have been in that situation. It is sad. It's tragic. It's emotionally and traumatically very difficult for the mother and the family. Every time. Abortion on demand is not a good thing. It's not real. It's not moral. You're right, Kimberly. People who have babies should have better support with respect to supporting them. I'm not saying they shouldn't have. I'm saying, yes, that's a good thing. The line becomes difficult when you're talking about the difference between socialistic programs and free enterprise programs and how to support things in ways that are productive and good. We have a 50% toss-up in this country about one direction or the other. The downfall of Roe v. Wade wasn't the end-all, be-all. It just said the states get to decide how that issue is decided and not the federal government. It doesn't mean that, and many states are siding with the Roe position. I mean, I'm okay with that. That's their prerogative, right? And so that's okay. The reason Christianity is not about hating anybody or creating these problems or being against. Would you leave it alone in the text part of it? You're still calling me names.
I didn't call you a name. I said,
still
don't ever
defaming
do
me.
that to me again.
Oh,
didn't
well,
call you
I
a name.
didn't do
I
that
called
to
you
me.
a
You
name
did
at
it to
all.
me. You did it to me. Okay, so what I'm going to
When?
do is I'm going to go hold of Nick and I'm going to complain to him about you
Good.
because you've been a pain in the ass and you've been a poor producer. And it's just, I'm done with this program. And it's
Good.
because
Bye.
you're not fair. You're not fair. You are such a one-sided person and you're a name caller. I didn't call you names. on this
You
show.
called
You
me
did.
a name. You even called me a baby killer. I didn't call you a name.
I said that you were in favor of that over
No,
letting
you called
families.
me a baby killer. You want me to pull it back?
All
No,
right,
I
all right,
didn't call
all
you a
right,
baby
you guys.
killer.
All right.
Before we go down this rabbit hole again, can I interject real quick?
Sure.
Because Dan, I didn't ask you about abortion. I didn't ask you about all this other stuff. I asked you where was the line, and then you brought up everything else. You did honestly. You called me a moron early in the show, and all the other personals came up.
Oh yeah, but
and all the other
it was
stuff.
in the
But
private
again,
chat.
wait,
It wasn't
let me finish.
online.
Let me finish, please.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, where is that line with Donald Trump? And you went down a whole rabbit hole elsewhere. So I wanted to stay on topic around the whole Donald Trump issue. Are you saying that your line for you to question your faith in Donald Trump is that if he were to say that he's in favor of abortion, which he actually did, he flip-flopped on that in 48 hours. And then even before that, so he's been back and forth on this same issue. If that is what you're saying,
I don't even
So-
care what his
So
position on
that's
abortion is.
so my question to you. I mean, I don't want to hear about abortion. I understand your stance. That's you. That's not name calling.
it's
trying to
me.
Say stuff.
And I don't think
what I'm
Kimberly
saying-
and I are that
listen,
far
Dan,
apart on this
Dan,
issue,
You cannot hear me if you're talking over me. What I'm saying is that's your position. Let's not attack anybody else's position on that. Nobody is for killing babies. Absolutely nobody. So to say that about somebody is a problem. So what I'm asking you is, where is the line? And now that Adam's here, now that Shaq is here, y'all can answer the same question. But don't give me some rabbit hole about abortion and all this other stuff. I just want to know where the line is with Donald Trump, where you lose your faith in him.
All right. So I
So
want
I find it, I find
I
it
don't
pretty
have-
fascinating.
Did you ask
Sorry,
Mike? Go ahead.
Dan, let me just jump in front of you for a second. I find it pretty fascinating. I've been relegated to being backstage for almost 10 minutes while you guys ganged up on Dan and left him without anybody on his side. So I will answer that question for you, Jatovi.
Thank you.
You have started to bring up issues like Hitler, comments about Hitler, his alleged comments about Hitler, et cetera, and you've asked, where is the line? I think what Dan is responding to is issues that he has an issue with Dems policies such as abortion, that he views that to be killing babies. So when you say, well, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole, well, we can't go down the rabbit hole that you want to go down and stay on that topic because we don't agree with you. We don't agree that Donald Trump just walked into the White House one day and said, hey, I really admire Trump and his generals. That doesn't sound right to us. So where is the line? Well, where is the line for the Dems? It's the same question that many of us have. What are you telling me to stop for? I've been backstage for almost 10 minutes. What are you telling me to stop for?
You know what I'm trying to ask.
backstage for 10 minutes.
We have to ask the question. We have to ask. It's going to talk over me now. You talk over Dan. You now you want to talk over me. Now you want to talk over me after you left me backstage all that time.
Rick,
Nobody-
if Rick
What a
needs
joke!
to
This is such a joke.
So
What
I
an
wanna-
absolute
I
joke!
want to go to
left.
Kim.
You
I
are.
was shushing you for a long time, so I want to go to Kim, and then I want to go to Adam. So
Can I
Kim-
finish my sentence?
Yeah.
Thank you. What about with Dems and the things that they have introduced recently? Immigration, we've talked about the transing of kids and what's going on in the school curriculum, Common Core, which appears to be failing, et cetera, et cetera. Do we have the right to say, well, how far do the Dems need to go before you guys will start to say, look, actually, maybe this is problematic? You know, you guys are trying to act like you've got the morals, the high ground on all of these issues, that somehow you're more intelligent and all the facts are on your side. People can interpret things differently, and you're not leaving any room for that. And
Okay.
I'm
Now
done.
Kim, then Adam.
Well, I think that I think the name calling started with Trump. I think the dehumanizing, defaming began with Trump. He's been calling people names and making fun of people for a long time since he started his first campaign. I
like
think
the deplorable
moral
comment from
grounds
Hillary?
are very wrong, and I believe that it divided our country in a huge way. And, you know, to sit there and try to defame me by saying I'm a baby killer, I am not. I have spent my life trying to save babies from being tortured and murdered in
Yeah, but
domestic
Dan
violence.
didn't say that.
I
Dan
have
didn't
spent
say that.
a lot
I
of
heard what he
money. I would appreciate it if I could finish talking as well. You know, give the same respect to other people. But
Kimberly,
to
while Dan was talking,
continue
you used your
dividing us
administrative
now,
controls to
but
type something up on
you
screen on behalf of Pod
accuse
TV.
us of the
Exactly.
same things you do, and that is something that the Republicans have been
While
doing.
Dan was talking,
quite
you
some
used your administrative controls to type
Shaq,
something up and put it over the top of him while he was
Shaq,
talking.
please, Shaq, just stop.
Okay, and what I will say is Shaq beamed out, and I moved him backstage, and took a little bit of time to get him back in, and then I saw Adam in, so I thought I would bring him back in at the same time. Not everything goes to your snap of the finger on this show, Shaq. And I
No,
saw
but
that
Jacoby doesn't get left backstage for 7 minutes, does he?
Please,
because you
Shaq.
interject all the time. Maybe sometimes it's better, but you left. I moved you to the back. So let's get to the reality here. There are other problems besides abortion, but that tends to be the moral ground. But there's IVF, where they have determined that the embryos are babies, and the Republicans have no problem seeing them slaughtered and murdered and disposed of on a daily basis. But that's very hypocritical. I find it very hypocritical that you want babies born, but you don't take care of them. So I think that what needs to happen is a middle ground. I think that if you want no abortions, then you need to put in place some laws. And I discussed this last night after the debate, put in some things to take care of that baby. Okay, the woman didn't want the baby, then make sure that you say, okay, we're not going to let you have an abortion, but if you have this baby, we'll make sure it's taken care of. And don't think that adoption agencies do this, because they don't do it well enough. But some women, they don't want their bodies messed up, or some women, they get sick, or some women just, they need to go to work. And you know what? I know 4 women right now that are pregnant, and they've had to quit working. And these women, they're not getting compensated because they had to quit their jobs. So think about what you demand and want of other people when it's not your life and not your business, and consider the ripple effect that it causes in their lives. And I will say that it is very hypocritical, but it is Adam's turn, and I'm sure that they're going to have some really mean and hateful things to say about me. But I don't care, because I do put aside my life to help others on a continuous basis, including babies and including mothers with children. And I don't see Dan doing that, but he might. But he's
Really? He's a member of the Mormon Church. Of course he does. What are you talking about?
All right, so if
I don't see him doing it. I see him calling me a
Do
murderer.
you know anything about Mormonism? Are you serious? Do you know anything about the Church of Latter-day Saints? What are we talking about? They help the community more than most religious groups do.
Jack, shut it.
Right, Adam,
You can defame me and get away with it, but you're such a hypocrite.
all right, Adam.
So I'll be brief and just make 3 quick points. First, I do find it a bit ironic that people on this show criticize others for name calling and then engage in precisely the action that they criticize. Number 2, abortion should not be a consideration in this election. Roe versus Wade was one of the worst decisions of the 20th century, and in the Dobbs decision, the Supreme Court rightfully returned it to the states, where it will stay and be resolved on a state-by-state basis through the democratic process. California, Colorado, Connecticut, they're all going to still have abortion. Maybe Nebraska won't. Maybe Alabama won't. Maybe Mississippi won't. That's how democracy works. So to vote for a federal candidate when this is a state issue does not make any sense to me. And the last point I'll make is that what this election is really about, and what would really be a more productive discussion, is what people are motivated by when they're going into the ballot box. And I can tell you it's inflation. It is those prices at the grocery store, the gas pump, it's the price of housing, it's the economy, it's the border. And the incumbent party has not done a good job on any of those issues, and people are ultimately going to vote with their pocketbooks, and that's why Trump will be elected the next president of the United States.
All right, so now I want to talk briefly about the transing of America. So I have a theory or a point of view. So various groups, minorities, have come out at various times. Black people struggled to become part of public life ever since the Civil War, and then they really came out in the 60s with the Civil Rights Movement. And then gay people, starting with Stonewall in the late 60s, feminists and women in the 70s, and now trans people are coming out and demanding to be visible and part of public life. And if they're going to do that, then you have to come up and figure out policies around a group that wants to, be, and so just because the Democrats are trying to figure out what to do with trans people and say bathrooms or sports or what medicine is appropriate and when, doesn't mean that Dems are trying to turn everybody trans. They're just trying to come up with policy, and they're getting screwed, but I believe, by the Republicans who are saying that we're pushing for everybody to cut their dicks off, which is ridiculous.
That's not entirely accurate.
Okay. So tell me where
Rick,
I'm off.
I recently, I'm talking about Australia, I'm not talking about your country. Recently, a few years ago, I went to the library because I couldn't find my copy of Wealth of Nations. And I walked in there, and there was this massive section on LGBTQ books for children and young teenagers. Couldn't find Wealth of Nations, couldn't find any books, actually, by any economist. I couldn't even find a Karl Marx book. So I said to the librarian, I said, do you think this is appropriate? And so I went through the philosophers section. No philosophy books either by any philosophers. And I live in a pretty wealthy area. So, I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I've actually got some researchers to go and check the entire archives for the state libraries in this state to find out how many of these books are actually out there. So when you say that Dems aren't trying to do it, I've done a similar experiment when I've been in LA. Okay. I think they are trying to do it. And what they're trying to do is not they're trying to work through the laws and see what they can do to deal with the issue. What they're trying to do is they're trying to force it on people. They're forcing male athletes into high school athletic games against girls. The girls don't want to play. You've got college kids now that are forfeiting volleyball matches. I think it's University of Nevada is forfeiting. This is the result. So it's not about we're just trying to work with society and just trying to tackle this issue. It is being forced upon people. And also, I will just remind you that prior to COVID, this wasn't that big of an issue. But then all of a sudden, people got online and they started being ridiculous. And then they go to school and they say, hey, my pronoun is clown and clown self. My pronoun is demon self. I'm a cat. That's my gender. And we're all supposed to sit there and take this seriously. And if we don't, we are somehow the heretics for the, at the hands of the wokesters.
Okay. Part of going too far in one direction or another is part of working it out.
Okay, but if that's the case, when we call it out when people have gone too far in one direction, we shouldn't be labelled as heretics. And it shouldn't take Europe, which is far more left-leaning than America, to actually roll back some of these medications and say, oh, actually, we've gone a little bit too far, we need to come back. Who in their right mind would expect that putting pubescent boys on the same medications that they use to medically castrate sex offenders is a good idea with no consequences? Who in their right mind think that doing that and trying to pass laws that says that parents can't stop their kids from doing that isn't going to result in parents going, whoa, hey, hands off my kid? Okay. I mean, it's come on now.
All right, okay.
They give children growth hormones. They give children all kinds of hormones. And who's to say all the hormones that they're feeding us at McDonald's isn't messing everyone up too?
I take it then that you're going to be a Republican voter, because that's what RFK Jr. has been talking about, and he was unceremoniously booted out of the Democrat. And then those hypocrites go to his mother's funeral.
People have plastic surgery all the time, get bigger chests, bigger butts, less butts. I mean, it's all just, Are
there breast augmentation surgeries for 12-year-olds? I don't think so.
Rick. It's Rick's show. Go ahead, Rick.
All right. So, there shouldn't be surgery before you're 18. And I'm just quickly, then I'm going to go to Tovi. Initially they thought that puberty blockers were fairly harmless, and now it turns out that no, they do have effects.
So Rick, don't force it on the parents. If you guys want women not to be forced to have not to be forced to carry children to term because it's their bodies and their rights to choose, don't force parents to take something because you're experimenting on their kids. You don't know what the, not you personally, you don't know what the consequences are. Stop forcing it. And I'll just remind you to read the educational guidelines on this.
Policy.
The educational,
all right,
the
all right,
educational
all right,
guidelines.
Right. The policy should be in consultation with everybody, parents, kids.
But Rick, the educational guidelines, and there's no question in my mind, this is why we have seen such a dramatic increase in this. The educational guidelines say that they can go into schools at very young ages, right? When the kids are 4 and 5 and 6 years old and they're just starting school, they can barely wipe their own butts at this age. And people can say to them, hey, do you know, are you a boy or a girl? Oh, you're a girl? Oh, okay. But you like to play, rough and tumble with your brother. So, there's a whole infinite amount of genders. Do you think maybe you're 95% girl and 5% boy? And the 5-year-old girl said, yes, I am. And bang. And the next thing you know, the person gets to 15, she's non-binary.
So I don't think that's
let's let someone else talk. I thought Adam had something to say. Adam?
Well, I would just largely echo what Shaq said. That was basically the points I was going to make regarding transgendered people. But again, I don't think it's productive to be name calling. I don't think it's productive to be discussing a lot of these tertiary issues. What it comes down to is inflation, the economy, the border. For the last 4 years, I've paid 30 to 40% more on groceries and in gas, and housing is entirely unaffordable, while my salary does not rise to meet the level of increase in those prices. And that's what people vote on. That's why Bill Clinton said it's the economy, stupid. All of these other issues, abortion, if anybody had any sense, they'd realize it's a state issue and therefore shouldn't even be a consideration for a federal candidate. But, I think we need to be talking about those issues and why for the last 4 years the Biden administration has largely failed and why people's lives are worse off than they were under Trump. And that's going to be the deciding factor in those swing states. And the last thing I would say, just as a point of order, when I was watching the show, there's a category of defamation called defamation per se, which basically means it's going to be presumed that a statement was defamatory and that it caused damages. So I would be very careful about posting things at the bottom that could be construed as defamation per se. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just saying that people should be mindful of that.
Well, what about calling somebody names too, Adam?
That person can respond, Kimberly, but you're using your administrative rights to.
Well, there's a difference between. There's a difference between calling people names and saying something that's legally defamatory. Defamatory statements are fact-based statements. So calling people names is generally going to be in the category of hyperbole or opinion. So while not something that I think is a good thing, some statements can cross into that defamation sphere. I just be mindful.
Thank you for the disclaimer, Adam. So let's continue with the show. I would like, go ahead and laugh. So
I'm not insulting anyone. I'm not targeting anyone.
Well,
Jacoby had his hand up.
So I think what we need to do is also discuss, Adam, when you say that our country is worse off than it was under Trump, I haven't seen 1.6 million people die under the Biden and Harris administration for a pandemic just in a few months time frame. So to me, that is the worst president leadership in the world, is to not have reacted appropriately and in a timely manner. But that's my opinion. Probably a few million who died as well, if you could still talk with them, but we can't. So, if I could sue the president for killing all of those people, I would, but we can't. But to me, that's the worst president. But that, again, that's opinions.
And you're entitled to your opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion and to their vote. What I'm saying is that your statement that the country is not worse off is different than saying that an individual is not worse off, and people are going to vote on their individual circumstances. And I think that's why Trump has the edge here.
Right, Jacoby then Shaq.
Yeah, okay. Sasha needs to go before me. He said
Sasha. Okay, Sasha then. Go, Sasha.
I've heard lately, especially today on this program, a lot of comparison between Trump and Hitler. And in some departments, Trump is definitely winning that comparison, but in some others he's losing, and badly. For example, Hitler, in a few years while he was in power, he made Germany a superpower, not only from militaristic and even not so much from that point of view, but as economy, as a growing population of Germany, and Germany did extremely well from all points of view in this few years that he was in power. I'm talking obviously a period before the beginning of Second World War. Okay, from that point on, it's completely different story. But I'm talking about this, say, 33 to 39, basically 5-6 years. Now, what Trump did with his tax cut, he created the greatest redistribution of finances in United States of America throughout probably all its history. So by cutting taxes for super rich and large corporations, what he did essentially, he did transfer a huge amount of wealth from these rich individuals who otherwise would have paid taxes. Instead, they didn't have to pay taxes, but the deficit as a result of it would be increased. And who would finance that the deficit? Buying the U.S. Treasury bills and bonds and so on. Obviously, it's the people who didn't have to pay taxes, all the super rich American and corporations. So now, instead of having this money going from them as taxes to the U.S. government, no, they remained in the possession of these funds and actually multiplied their wealth by investing in bonds and other instruments to increase their wealth even further. The United States government going into further debt during Trump time in this 4 years was president, it went up 25%. Just as a result of the tax cuts. So what's the middle class or the poorer people, what benefits they got from the tax cuts? Zero. So they would be complete idiots if they will vote for Trump again. But idiots are the idiots. There is a sucker born every minute. So go ahead, vote for Trump.
Sasha,
I agree with Sasha. There's a sucker.
I'd like to go up to Jacoby, so please leave me some time, Jacoby. We've only got 2.5 minutes left.
All right, go. Come on.
So real quick, the cultural issue, I agree, but that is actually what the Trump campaign is actually pushing a lot now of. Hence and it does actually work some in different actual areas in the Black community. Hence the reason why they're pushing the trans issue is because there is this problem within even the Black community dealing around the trans community. So they have run those ads a lot more so than even the economy ones. Adam is correct. People are voting on their actual wallets. However, this is why I ask about policies, and I'll point it out again. Right now, the economists, there is not one economist that says Trump's plan is better than Kamala Harris's. Not one. And I'm trying to finish to leave Shaq some time. So not one economist has said that. All have said that his puts up 5.7 at its best trillion to the debt. In terms of the abortion thing, that's still taking away rights from individuals who've had rights for 50 plus years, saying that, oh, well, it should have gone to the states. Well, too bad. It was actually a right that they had. Now, once you take it away from and throw it to the states, there are states where women cannot have that right anymore. So you're taking away rights. So that's a totally another argument. But those are the three things that I wanted to touch on.
Rights are supposed to be inalienable and given by God, so they can't be taken away by the courts. But I'll leave that issue alone. To the comments, Kimberly, we've addressed the character issues and switched back to issues about COVID. I think that a big part of the country is going to vote on things that really shouldn't be relevant, as Adam has described. They're going to vote on personality and, he said this and he said that, rather than what they think is best for the country. To Sasha, I just want to make this point, Sasha. The taxes in some parts of the tax code in the US are higher than what they are in Canada. They're higher than what they are in Europe, which if you've got a 35% corporate tax rate. So by your argument, is Europe favouring the wealthy by letting them keep their wealth? This doesn't work. The reason why the US had to be more competitive is because the countries in Europe were becoming more competitive. The tax rate in Canada had dropped. The tax rates in Australia and New Zealand had dropped. And the United States had the most progressive and the highest levels of taxes anywhere in the industrialized world except for the Scandinavian countries. So, I don't think that this idea that the wealthy just got wealthier and, the middle class got hurt is very accurate. And lastly, some of the debt and the budget deficits were overcome by the massive increase in the economy, some of which occurred after his presidency, especially with the V-shaped recovery that happened in 2020, just before he handed over the country to Joe Biden.
Chuck, I don't have any evidence to suggest that these taxes would rich people and corporations save. They would reinvest into productions or new business or anything. No, it's not.
Unfortunately, I don't have time to discuss with you now, but let's discuss on another show.
And say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching,
Okay.
and we'll see you
Bye-bye.
guys tomorrow on World Edition. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this conversation.